We're not going to let it happen. We are going to protect our Second Amendment. If I'm president, you can count on it 100%.
I'm going to bring jobs back. I'm going to get Apple to start making their computers and their iPhones on our land, not in China. How does it help us when they make it in China?
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not. Polls, I'm beating you. So, you shouldn't misrepresent how well you're doing with the polls. You don't have to say that. In fact, I was all for you until you started doing that, because that's a misrepresentation. Number one. Number two, this isn't me saying it. I don't care. I think I'm going to win fair and square. I don't have to win this way. Thank you. Lawrence Tribe and numerous from Harvard, said that there is a serious question as to whether or not Ted can do this, okay? There are other attorneys that feel, and very, very fine constitutional attorneys, that feel that because he was not born on the land, he cannot. The entire early portion of the debate was Trump this, Trump that. In order to get ratings,
Mr. Trump, it's not
in order
CNN.
to get ratings,
Mr. Trump, I was on CNN last night watching.
Excuse me. I think it's very unprofessional. Jeb doesn't really believe I'm unhinged. He said that very simply because he has failed in this campaign. It's been a total disaster. Nobody cares. And frankly, I'm the most solid person up here. I built a tremendous company, and all I want to do is make America great again. I don't want our country to be taken away from us, and that's what's happening. The policies that we've suffered under other presidents have been a disaster for our country. We want to make America great again. And Jeb, in all fairness, he doesn't believe. Language. 2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody. And that's fine. Nobody reports that. He gets up and says that. And then he tells me, oh, my language was a little bit rough. Okay. My language. We're celebrating for a long time tonight. Have a good time. Have a good
Trump
time.
steaks. Where are the steaks? Do we have steaks? Right. We have Trump steaks. He said the steak company, and we have Trump steaks. And by the way, if you want to take one, we'll charge you about what, $50 a steak.
Principle,
the single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar.
All right.
This guy lied. Let me just tell you, this guy lied about Ben Carson when he took votes away from Ben Carson in Iowa, and he just continues. And today, we had robocalls saying Donald Trump is not going to run in South Carolina, where I'm leading by a lot. I'm not going to run. Vote for Ted Cruz. This is the same thing he did to Ben Carson. This guy will say anything.
About millions and millions of people, whereas the Democrats are down 35%. They're down from what they were. We're up by 50% and even more than that. You're talking about millions of people. So I actually think it's the biggest story in politics.
Let me just, he wants to be a tough guy. A lot of times you'll have, and it doesn't work very well with
How tough is it to take property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
How tough is it?
A lot of times, that's all of his donors and special interests. Well, I'm very glad that Ted mentioned Arizona, because probably the toughest man on borders is Sheriff Joe Arpaio. And 2 days ago, he totally endorsed me. So thank you.
As far as domestic policy and trade, which is killing our country, he said free trade. And I believe in free trade also. But if you look at China, and if you look at Japan, and if you look at Mexico, both at the border, by the way, where they're killing us, both at the border and with trade, and every other country we do business with, we are getting absolutely crushed on trade. And he said, free trade, I say free trade, great, but not when they're beating us so badly. With China, we're going to lose $505 billion in terms of trades. You just can't do it. Mexico, $58 billion. Japan, probably about, they don't know it yet, but about $109 billion. Every country we lose money with. As far as I'm concerned, we've got to reduce, we have to redo our trade deals 100%. I have the greatest business people in the world lined up to do it. We will make great trade deals.
Did they get him out? Did they get him out? Well, where are the police? Come on, police, get him out. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Come on, let's get him out. Troublemakers, just troublemakers. Come on, get them out, police, please. Let's go. See, what they don't realize is they really help us realize how important we are and how important it is what we're doing. They actually hurt themselves.
I also happen to call him a lightweight, okay, and I have said that, so I would like to take that back. He's really not that much of a lightweight. And as far as, and I have to say this, he hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee.
I'm not even focused on Hillary yet. I'm doing well. Numerous polls have me winning, but I haven't even started with her other than 4 weeks ago when I actually hit her very hard because what she said was...
Won many polls, as you know, against Hillary Clinton directly. And I'm the only one that's going to beat her, if she's allowed to run. I'm the only one that's going to beat her. And the only one, remember that. And I am the one person, trust me, that she does not want to run against.
I will say this. I don't know who's going to win between Bernie and Hillary. I don't know what's going to happen with Hillary. She's got other problems, maybe bigger than the problems she's got in terms of nominations. If you look at the deals we make, whether it's the nuclear deal with 24-hour periods, and by the way, before you get to the 24 hours, you have to go through a system. You look at Sergeant Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl, a traitor, and they get 5 of the big, great killers, leaders that they want. We have people in Washington that don't know what they're doing. Now, I agree. Now, with Iran, we're making a deal. You would say, we want him. We want him. We want our prisoners. We want all these things. We don't get anything. We're giving them $150 billion plus. They are going to be, I'll tell you what, if Iran was a stock, you folks should go out and buy it right now because you'll quite... Ted say that over and over again on television, that he's the only one that can beat me. Just for the record, I've won 10. He's won 3 or 4. Last week, in fact, on Tuesday, I was 500,000 votes higher than him. I was 1 million votes higher than Marco. 1 million votes. That's a lot of votes. I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question. It was very clear. That question was also talked about in the form of groups. I want to know, which groups are you talking about? You have to tell me which groups. Ultimately, he got to the Ku Klux Klan, which obviously I'm going to disavow. And by the way, if you look on my Twitter account, almost immediately after the program, they were disavowed again. You know, it's amazing. When I do something on Twitter, everybody picks it up, goes all over the place. But when I did this one, nobody ever picks it up. Take a look at my Twitter account.
Yes, Ted, Lion Ted. I call him Lion Ted. He holds the Bible high, and then he goes down, he puts the Bible down, and then he lies. Lion Ted. You know, he'll say, I'm the only one that beat Donald Trump. I said it before. I beat him. But he doesn't say, yeah, he won like 4, and I won like 12 or 13, right? He forgets the other part. But Lion
has lied so much about my record.
There we go. The person
He has lied so much about my record.
Mr. Rubio, Senator Rubio, why don't you let him
And I will tell you this. First of all, I got a call from my sister and brother tonight,
And they said, we had no idea Dad gave you $200 million. Believe me, I started off with $1 million. I built a company that's worth more than $10 billion. And I say it not in a bragging way, but that's the kind of thinking we need. Very low debt, tremendous cash flow. My financials are they're all in there with the federal elections. You've seen them. Everybody's seen them. I say it only because that's the kind of thinking this country needs with $19 trillion in debt.
Going in the wrong direction. We're going to keep, as you know, Gitmo, we're keeping that open, and we're going to load it up with bad dudes. We're going to load it up with a lot of bad dudes out there.
I know. Did anybody watch the debate last night, huh? Oh, they are getting ratings on these debates. You know, those debates used to die. They used to die. They were called the ratings graveyard. They would die, and it was sad. But now they're called, you know what? They called me, one of the big networks called on the way out, we'd like to do another debate. You know, they want to do it for themselves. They don't want to do it for us. And they want to have 2 more debates. I said, maybe let's just put the debates away. We've done just 5.
Tremendous has been just sucked out of our country by China. China says they don't have that good a control over North Korea. They have tremendous control. I deal with the Chinese all of the time. I do tremendous business. The largest bank in the world is in one of my buildings in Manhattan. I deal with them. They tell me they have total, absolute control, practically, of North Korea. They are sucking trillions of dollars out of our country. They're rebuilding China with the money they take out of our country. I would get on with China. Let China solve that problem. They can do it quickly and surgically. That's what we should do with North Korea.
See, this doesn't get talked about in the press. The love that's in these rooms. I mean, it's love. You know, they talk about a protest or something. They don't talk about what's really happening in these forums and these rooms and these stadiums. They don't talk about the love. The people of this country are incredible people. They want to take it back. They're going to take it back. We're going to fix this country. It's going to be properly done.
Yes, I would. And I've been there, and I've been there very strongly. I do have to say something, and this is interesting, and it's not anybody's fault. It's not Ted's fault. Justice Roberts was strongly recommended and pushed by Ted. Justice Roberts gave us Obamacare. Might as well be called Roberts Care. 2 times of the Supreme Court, Justice Roberts approved something that he should have never raised his hand to approve. And we ended up with Obamacare. That is a rough thing, and I know Ted feels badly about it, and I think he probably still respects the judge, but that judge has been a disaster in terms of everything we stand for, because there is no way that he should have approved Obamacare. Now, with that being said, these are the things that happen. But Ted very, very strongly pushed Judge Roberts, and Justice Roberts gave us something that we don't. I want to
just thank a couple of friends of mine that are here. The owner of this incredible hotel, Mr. and Mrs. Phil Ruffin. Stand up. Great guy. Phil said, Donald, like for the last 3 months, he's driving me crazy. He said, Donald, I want to put $10 million into your campaign. I said, Phil, I don't want your money. I don't want to do it. I'm self-funding. Every time I see him, it's hard for me to turn down money because that's not what I've done in my whole life. I grab and grab and grab. You know, I get greedy. I want money. Now I'm going to, I'll tell you what we're going to do, right? We get greedy, right? Now we're going to get greedy for the United States. We're going to grab and grab and grab. We're going to bring in so much money and so much everything. We're going to make America great again, folks. I'm telling you, we're going to make America great again.
I have to explain to these people, they don't understand basic physics, basic mathematics, basic whatever you want to call it. When I don't get over 50, we have 4 people, right? We have 4 people. Do you understand that? So when I get 53, and this one, as an example, I had 53, and that's with 4 people. That's an amazing achievement just mathematically when you can get over 50%. What this man did to Dr. Ben Carson, who I respect, in Iowa, where he said that Ben Carson is out of the race, he has left Iowa, and he's out of the race. And I thought it was disgraceful. And got a lot of votes because of that. A lot of votes took him away from Ben Carson. I watched that. Probably took him away from me, too. But I watched it. I also watched where he did a form that looked like it came right out of a government agency. And it said on top, voter violation. And then it graded you. And it scared the hell out of people. And it said the only way you clear up the violation, essentially, is to go and vote for Ted Cruz. I watched that fraudulent document, and I said it's the worst thing I've ever seen in politics. To me, that was even worse than what he did.
We're going to be the smart people. We're not going to be the people that get pushed around all over the place. We're going to be the smart people. You're going to be proud of your president, and you're going to be even prouder of your country, okay?
What would you say to Diane Foley? Should families be allowed to raise money for ransom?
Well, I know Diane Foley very well. Her husband, and these are tremendous people. I spoke for them. I've raised a lot of money for the foundation. I fully understand James, that was really the first that we saw really visually so horrible. And I will tell you, though, with all of that being said, you cannot negotiate this way with terrorists. If you do, you're going to have many, many more James Foleys. James Foley was a great young man. His parents are incredible people. They've done such a good job since his death.
Women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
One of the officials, actually one of the ex-officials from Mexico, had a news conference, and he announced that we will not be paying for the wall. Who does Mr. Trump think he is? They came to me, the press, these people. Look at all those cameras back there. The press came to me, and they told me that he said he would not pay for the wall. Do you have a comment? I said, yes. The wall just got 10 feet taller. It's true. A number of the pundits said, well, if a couple of the other candidates dropped out, if you add their scores together, it's going to equal Trump. Right? These geniuses, they're geniuses. They don't understand that as people drop out, I'm going to get a lot of those votes also. You don't just add them together.
He said, Donald, like for the last 3 months, he's driving me crazy. He said, Donald, I want to put $10 million into your campaign. I said, Phil, I don't want your money. I don't want to do it. I'm self-funded.
Once I announced I was running, they said, what's he doing? Why is he running? He's not supposed to be running. We want people that we can control. We want people that we can give money to, so that if we want something for pharmaceuticals or for electric or for utilities or for lumber or for oil and gas, we have total control over our senator or our congressman. So, you know, I'm self-funding. I'm not taking their money. They have no control. I'm going to do what's right for the American people, and that's very simple.
They're not going to refuse me, believe me. But they're illegal. Let me just tell you, you look at the Middle East, they're chopping off heads. They're chopping off the heads of Christians and anybody else that happens to be in the way. They're drowning people in steel cages. And now we're talking about waterboarding. This really started with Ted. A question was asked of Ted last 2 debates ago about waterboarding. And Ted was, having a hard time with that question, to be totally honest with you. They then came to me, what do you think of waterboarding? I said, it's fine. And if we want to go stronger, I'd go stronger too. Because frankly, that's the way I feel. Can you imagine these people, these animals over in the Middle East that chop off heads, sitting around talking and seeing that we're having a hard problem with waterboarding? We should go for waterboarding, and we should go tougher than waterboarding.
But targeting terrorist families?
And I'm a leader. I've always been a leader. I've never had any problem leading people. If I say do it, they're going to do it. That's what leadership is all about.
Even targeting terrorist families?
Well, look, when a family flies into the World Trade Center, a man flies into the World Trade Center, and his family gets sent back to where they were going, and I think most of you know where they went. And by the way, it wasn't Iraq, but they went back to a certain territory. They knew what was happening. The wife knew exactly what was happening. They left 2 days earlier with respect to the World Trade Center, and they went back to where they went. And they watched their husband on television flying into the World Trade Center, flying into the Pentagon, and probably trying to fly into the White House, except we had some very, very brave souls on that third plane.
Build the wall, you know that. Gonna build the wall. And I have a lot of respect for Mexico, and you just heard we won Hispanics, but let me tell you, Mexico is going to pay for the wall, right? Gonna happen. Going to happen. They know it. I know it. We all know it. We have a tremendous deficit. We have a trade deficit with Mexico. They'll pay for the wall. They'll be very happy about it. Believe me, I'll talk to them. They'll be very, very thrilled. They're going to be thrilled to be paying for the wall.
Hillary Clinton, who's
look, let's face it. She hasn't got the strength. She hasn't got the stamina to be president. That I can tell you. And we have a communist named Bernie Sanders. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. Now, remember Bernie? Remember Bernie? When the two people came up, the two ladies, young ladies came up, and they took over his microphone. Do you remember that? That's not happening here, folks. We go down swinging, that's that I can tell you. Remember they came up? They came up, and they started screaming at him, and he's making a speech, and he's going, oh, and they're both screaming. Do you remember this? I said, where the hell is our country going? And the audience wanted to hear him, okay, which I understand. That's why they came. And they're saying, no, we want to hear him. We want to hear him. And these two people came up, and they're screaming into the mic. And then eventually he gave up the mic, and he walked back, and he was listening to them speak. I said, how sad is that? How pathetic is that?
We have to stop with political correctness. We have to get down to creating a country that's not going to have the kind of problems that we've had with people flying planes into the World Trade Centers, with the shootings in California, with all the problems all over the world. I just left Indonesia, bomb, 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 bomb. We have to find out what's going on. I said temporarily. I didn't say permanently. I said temporarily. And I have many great Muslim friends. And some of them, I will say not all, have called me and said, Donald, thank you very much. You're exposing an unbelievable problem, and we have to get to the bottom of it. And unlike President Obama, where he refuses even to use the term of what's going on, he can't use the term for whatever reason. And if you can't use the term, you're never going to solve the problem. My Muslim friends, some, said, thank you very much. We'll get to the bottom of it. But we have a serious problem, and we can't be the stupid country anymore. We're laughed at all over the world.
In America.
No. I am a Second Amendment person. If we had guns in California on the other side, where the bullets went in the different direction, you wouldn't have 14 or 15 people dead right now. If even in Paris, if they had guns on the other side going in the opposite direction, you wouldn't have 130 people plus dead. So the answer is no. And what Jeb said is absolutely correct. We have a huge mental health problem in this country. We're closing hospitals, we're closing wards, we're closing so many because the states want to save money. We have to get back into looking at what's causing. You know, the guns don't pull the trigger. It's the people that pull the trigger. And we have to find out what is going on. We have to protect our Second Amendment, and you cannot do this, and certainly what Barack Obama was doing with the executive order. He doesn't want to get people together. You know, the old-fashioned way where you get Congress. You get the Congress, you get the Senate, you get together, you do legislation. He just writes out an order, executive order.
Tariff on Chinese goods.
That's wrong. They were wrong. It's the New York Times. They're always wrong.
Well,
they were wrong.
You never said it because they provided
what I said, I had an editorial
remarks.
I would use, they were asking me what to do about North Korea. China, they don't like to tell us, but they have total control, just about, of North Korea. They can solve the problem of North Korea if they wanted to. But they taunt us. They say, well, we don't really have control. Without China, North Korea doesn't even eat. China is ripping us on trade. They're devaluing their currency, and they're killing our companies. Thousands and thousands. You look at the number of companies and the number in terms of manufacturing and plants that we've lost, 50,000 because of China.
So
now,
you never
wait a minute.
advocated putting a tariff on their
We've lost
goods to
anywhere between 4 and 7 million jobs because of China. What I said this. We have very unfair trade with China. We're going to have a trade deficit of $505 billion this year with China. A lot of that is because they devalue their currency. What I said to the New York Times is that we have great power, economic power over China. And if we wanted to use that, and the amount, and where the 45% comes in, that would be the amount based on their devaluations that we should get. What I'm saying is this. I'm not saying we do it, But if they don't start treating us fairly and stop devaluing and let their currency rise so that our companies can compete and we don't lose all of these millions of jobs that we're losing, I would certainly start taxing goods that come in from China. Who the hell has to lose $505 billion a year?
I'm sorry, sir. You lost, but I do want to understand that.
Well, it's not that complicated, actually.
Then I apologize.
Okay.
But then I want to understand, if you don't want a 45% tariff, you say that wasn't the figure, would you be open, or are you open to slapping a higher tariff on Chinese goods of any sort to go back at them?
Okay, just so you understand, I know so much about trade with China. Carl Icahn today, as you know, endorsed me. Many businessmen want to endorse me.
I know, but that's
Carl
my
said, no, but he's somebody that, these are the kind of people that we should use to negotiate, not the kind of people that we have who are political hacks who don't know what they're doing, and we have problems like this. So these are the kind of people. We should use our best and our finest.
All right,
now,
on that tariff, yes or no?
No, here's what I'm saying. China, they send their goods in. We don't tax. They do whatever they want to do. They do whatever they do. Okay. When we do business with China, they tax us. You don't know it. They tax us. I have many friends that deal with China. They can't deal. Number one, they don't want the product. And when they finally get the product, it is taxed. And if you look at what happened with Boeing, and if you look at what happened with so many companies that deal. So we don't have an equal playing field. I'm saying absolutely. We don't have to continue to lose $505 billion as a trade deficit for the privilege of dealing with China. I'm a free trader. I believe it. But we have to be smart, and we have to use smart people to negotiate. I have the largest bank in the world as a tenant of mine. I sell tens of millions of dollars. I love China. I love the Chinese people, but they laugh themselves. They can't believe how stupid the American leadership is.
So you're open to a tariff?
I'm totally open to a tariff. If they don't treat us fairly, hey, their whole trade thing is tariff. You can't deal in China without tariff. They do it to us, we don't do it. It's not fair trade.
Neil, let me say one thing about this. I'm a free trader. I supported NAFTA. I believe in the PTT because it's important those countries in Asia are an interface.
The Wall Street Journal just came out with a poll. Headline, Trump way up, Cruz going down. I mean, so you can't, they don't like the Wall Street Journal, they don't like NBC, but I like the poll. And frankly, it just came out. And in Iowa now, as you know, Ted, in the last 3 polls, I'm beating you. So, you shouldn't misrepresent how well you're doing with the polls. You don't have to say that. In fact, I was all for you until you started doing that, because that's a misrepresentation. Number one. Number two, this isn't me saying it. I don't care. I think I'm going to win fair and square. I don't have to win this way. Thank you. Lawrence Tribe and numerous from Harvard, said that there is a serious question as to whether or not Ted can do this, okay? There are other attorneys that feel, and very, very fine constitutional attorneys, that feel that because he was not born on the land, he cannot run for office. Here's the problem. We're running. He does great. I win. I choose him as my vice presidential candidate, and the Democrats sue because we can't take him along for the ride. I don't like that.
Jeb is so wrong. You got to fight ISIS first. You fight ISIS first. Right now, you have Russia, you have Iran, you have them with Assad, and you have them with Syria. You have to knock out ISIS. They're chopping off heads. These are animals. You have to knock them out. You have to knock them off strong. You decide what to do after. You can't fight 2 wars at one time. If you listen to him and you listen to some of the folks that I've been listening to, that's why we've been in the Middle East for 15 years, and we haven't won anything. We've spent $5 trillion in the Middle East because of thinking
you
like...
could get along very well with Vladimir Putin. You did at one point say, let Russia take care of ISIS.
Call me a genius. I like him so far, I have to tell you. Let me just tell you this. Jeb is so wrong. Jeb is absolutely so... that's... Just so you understand, you know what that is? That's Jeb's special interest and lobbyists talking. Look, let me just tell you something. Jeb is so wrong. You got to fight ISIS first. You fight ISIS first. Right now, you have Russia, you have Iran, you have them with Assad, and you have them with Syria. You have to knock out ISIS. They're chopping off heads. These are animals. You have to knock them out. You have to knock them off strong. You decide what to do after. You can't fight 2 wars at one time. If you listen to him and you listen to some of the folks
that I've been listening to. That's why we've been in the Middle East for 15 years, and we haven't won anything. We've spent $5 trillion in the Middle East because of thinking like that. We've spent and Lindsey Graham, who backs him, who had 0 on his polls. So let me just tell you something. We've spent. I only tell the truth, lobbyists. We've spent $5 trillion all over the Middle. We have to rebuild our country. We have to rebuild our infrastructure. You listen to that, you're going to be there for another 15 years.
All right, I just wrote this out very quickly about the Pope. Do you want to hear it? Should I read it to you? Okay. He actually said that maybe I'm not a good Christian or something. It's unbelievable, which is really not a nice thing to say. So it's a response from Donald Trump. It says, if and when the Vatican is attacked by ISIS. You know, ISIS, their primary trophy, very few people know this. I read this about 2 months ago. Nobody even believed it. Their primary thing, you've seen what they've done all over the Middle East. Their primary goal is to get to the Vatican. That would be their ultimate trophy. They want to do what they did to all of these magnificent artifacts and all of the beautiful museums that they've totally destroyed all over the Middle East, right? And I didn't know this. I read this like 4 or 5 months ago. I made mention of it 2 months ago, and everyone said, what are you talking about? They thought, like, I'm kidding. It's true. And now there are stories about it. Not big stories, but there are stories about it. And I was checked by one of the reporters that said, they don't want to talk about the... Then he called up and apologized. The big thing, they want to get to the Vatican. So, if and when the Vatican is attacked by ISIS, which, as everyone knows, is ISIS's ultimate trophy, I can promise you that the Pope would have only wished and prayed that Donald Trump would have been president. Because it's true. It's true. Because this would not have happened. ISIS would have been eradicated, unlike what is happening now with our all talk, no action politicians. That's what's happening now.
I'll tell you what, in the Middle East, we have people chopping the heads off Christians. We have people chopping the heads off many other people. We have things that we have never seen before as a group. We have never seen before what's happening right now. The medieval times, I mean, we studied medieval times. Not since medieval times have people seen what's going on. I would bring back waterboarding, and I'd bring back a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding. You can't do and this pertains to every place. You can't do that deal. That deal's a disaster. And today in the New York Times and in the Wall Street Journal, they have articles that Trump is totally changing what's happening with respect to our attitude on trade. Now, I like trade, and I'm a free trader. You know, a lot of these very conservative people, of which I'm more conservative than they are in many ways, but on trade, I don't quite qualify. I am a free trader. And free trading is good. We're all free traders. But it's got to be reasonable. It's got to be fair. It's got to be smart, right? You know, by the way, Ted Cruz is a great debater. But I always say he can debate, but he can't talk, right? Can't talk. But last night was very civil. There was something about it. And I said to myself, I'm not going to talk about lying Ted, because, ooh, does he lie? He lies. I'm not going to mention the fact that Governor Kasich, you know the story, he disappeared. He lived in New Hampshire. I mean, he lived there. And he said he's going to win New Hampshire. I won in a landslide.
We won the evangelicals. We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. We're the smartest people. We're the most loyal people. And you know what I really am happy about? Because I've been saying it for a long time. 46% with the Hispanics. 46%. Number one with Hispanics. I'm really happy about that.
Let me say this, and I've said it loud and clear, and I've said it for years. And many of these people are sitting right in the audience right now, your lobbyists and your special interests and your donors, because the audience is packed with them, and they're packed with you. I've had an amazing relationship with politicians, both Democrat, Republican, because I was a businessman. As one magazine said, he's a world-class businessman. He was friendly with everybody. I got along with everybody. You get along with nobody. You don't have one Republican. You don't have one Republican senator, and you work with them every day of your life, although you skipped a lot of time. These are minor details. But you don't have one Republican senator backing you, not one. You don't have the endorsement of one Republican senator, and you work with these people.
Senator Cruz.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Paul O'Neill of the Yankees. Come, stand up, Paul. Paul. In fact, Paul, you originally come from Ohio, right? Oh, wow. Paul O'Neill of the Yankees. Hey, Paul, you come from Ohio? Do you endorse me? I love you. Thank you, Paul.
I think it's very sad that CNN leads Jeb Bush, Governor Bush, down a road by starting off virtually all of the questions. Mr. Trump this, I think it's very sad. And frankly, I think it's very sad. And frankly, I watched the first debate, and the first long number of questions were, Mr. Trump said this, Mr. Trump said that, Mr. Trump. These poor guys, although I must tell you, Santorum, good guy. Governor Huckabee, good guy. They were very nice, and I respect them greatly. But I thought it was very unfair that virtually the entire early portion of the debate was Trump this, Trump that, in order to get ratings,
But Mr. Trump,
it's
not
in order
CNN.
to get ratings,
Mr. Trump, I was on CNN last night watching
Excuse me.
you.
I think it's very unprofessional.
But it wasn't CNN. It was me. I watched you last night for 16 minutes.
I think it's very
not
unprofessional.
CNN. It's not CNN. It's America's watching you.
Okay, fine.
It's America's watching.
So I was mentioned, so I can bring up something. I think, right? Look, the simple fact is, if you think this is tough and you're not being treated
this
fairly,
isn't tough and easy.
Imagine what it's going to be like dealing with Putin, or dealing with President Xi, or dealing with the Islamic terrorism that exists. This is a tough business to run for president.
I know, you're a tough guy, Jeb.
And we need to have a leader that is principled. You're never going to be president of the United States by insulting your way to the presidency.
Let's see, I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so
Doesn't matter.
far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
So far I'm doing better. You know, you started off over here, Jeb. You're moving over further and further. Pretty soon you're going to be off the
And they told me that he said he would not pay for the wall. Do you have a comment? I said, yes. The wall just got 10 feet taller.
It's true. About millions and millions of people, whereas